Hi, welcome to Daily Zohar. Today we're going to learn from Parashat Pekudei the following portion. Ta chazi, come and see. Nishmata lo salka le'ait chaza kame malka kadisha, that the soul that has left this world and goes up to the higher realms does not get to see and come before the divine presence adezachat litlabsha belevusha del ela litchaza taman, until it adorns herself with the higher supernal clothing. And so too, when the soul is summoned down into this world and is called down into this world, so it then assumes the clothing of this world. In other words, the body and the image that the soul is going to have in this lifetime. And so too, the angelic beings, the angels, are King David says, that the angels are burning fires, and and when they come down into this world and they do their work in this world, when they come down into this world, and there's angels in this world, not just in the higher worlds, but they're able to accomplish and to do things in this world. So then they adorn themselves with the clothing of this world. V'chula ihu kigavna dehu atar de azil taman, and everything goes in accordance to where the soul is at that time. V'aukimna denishmata lo salka ela belevusha denahir, and we've learned that the soul, when it returns back to its maker, it comes back with an illuminated clothing. V'tachazi, come and see, Adam Arishon kadhava beginta de Eden. When Adam was in paradise, hava mitlabish belevusha kigavna del ela. So he adorned himself. He had the clothing of the higher worlds, even though paradise was in this physical world, but he had the clothing of the higher world. And it says that he had his entire body was shining like the fingernails, which is a reason why on Havdalah, when we take out the Shabbat, we look at our fingernails to remind ourselves of that original state that Adam was in, and that thereby all of us were in, because we're all a portion of Adam. Kevan dit tarach miginta de Eden. So after Adam was cast out of paradise, and had to contend with this world. Maktiv, what does it say? Vayas Hashem Elokim la'adam li'ishto kotnot or. So then God then enclothed to Adam and to his wife, Chava, clothing of or with an ayin, and that means physical leather, or he was wearing leather, but the or is also skin, because now Adam was given a different countenance, a different level of physical expression in this world. B'kadmita, but at the beginning, what was the clothing of Adam? Kotnot or, it was made out of or with an aleph, and the aleph refers to light. So he had clothing of light. And after the sin, Adam then descended down to have the kotnot or with an ayin. Or dahu hora ilah, there was this supernal light, the shimish be began eden begin deha ginta de eden hora ilah, the nahir mishamish be ve'alda adam kadma kad al lego ginta al bishle kucha bicha ulevusha dehu nahara, because originally Adam was enclothed with this incredible light, and he entered this space that he was able to go into higher expressions of light. And we know that our clothing is essentially the levushim. It says every single day is another levush, is another clothing that we put on of Torah and mitzvot. The Baal Shem Tov says that every single day a person should never forgo doing a mitzvah that has to do with the day, because it's absolutely contingent on that day. And therefore, when we do that mitzvah on that day, then we enclothe ourselves that when the soul goes back to paradise, it's able to then enter that space. So Adam was able to enter all of these higher realms because he had the clothing. And so in the same likelihood, and how does this connect to the Zohar and Parashat Pekudei, where it talks about the Mishkan and the clothing of the Kohanim? So it says that the clothing of the Kohanim, and specifically the Kohen Gadol, Bigdei Asrad Lesharet Bakodesh, so he had to wear these clothing. The Kohanim had to wear their clothing in order to enter the holiness, and they had to remove their old clothing. And that refers to when they entered the Mishkan, they entered this place of holiness, they had to now wear the clothing that were comparable. They were on the level of that place, and they allowed the Kohen to enter that place. And we know that when the high priest wore the 8 articles of clothing that he wore on Yom Kippur, specifically, that allowed him to enter the place of the Kodesh Kodashim. So now this is now getting practical, that the good deeds of an individual, the avid behai alma, that the person does in this world, inun ovdin mashchim in har de zivaila, then we draw down this light within our good deeds, levush alitatkana belahu alma, and that is the clothing that we have in the next world, in order to be seen, in order to be taken in to God. And it says that there are souls who have not done their mission in this world, and they're called naked souls. They may have been billionaires in this world. They may have had everything. Their closets probably were filled with all clothing, but that's not the clothing that's going to get them in, that is going to get them into paradise. The clothing of paradise, the clothing of the next world, the clothing of God's desire of why he put us in this world is the clothing of the mitzvot, of the good deeds. Then we're able to enter the open channel of light. It says that there's an open channel of light and also a dim channel of light that we basically have in this lifetime, that for us, the light, the supernal light, is dimmed. But when we enter that place of light, where people that have almost had near-death experiences, they know that there's just light and there's just love in that realm. But in order to be a part of that realm, then we have to also get our clothing and get our mind space ready to be able to receive that. In order to see the bliss of God and to enter his chamber. And therefore, the nishmat islabshet betrein almin lemeheve leishlimu b'chula. So we have the soul that is enclosed in both worlds, in the higher world and the lower world, simultaneously, where we have the clothing of this world, but we also have the clothing of the next world. And the Zohar concludes, and that's what it says, Ach tzadikim yodu lishmecha yeshu yishar panecha, that tzadikim will give gratitude to you in this world, and yeshu yishar panecha, and they will then see your face, your countenance, when bahu alma, in the next world. And that refers to the ability to sort of counter, to have this balance of living in this world. And it's not about that we're not in the next world. We're in this world. We have the clothing of this world, but we also have the clothing of the next world that we prepare in this lifetime. And that's the balancing act that we do. And that's the lesson that we have from the clothing of the Kohanim, of the Kohen Gadol, of the regular Kohanim, and the lesson for each and every one of us, that we have our spiritual clothing and we have our physical clothing, and both are important. Wishing you blessings and a great day.